Welcome back to First Look. It's time for our information segment this Tuesday morning. As promised, our very first guest in studio is Dr. Amina Goodwin-Fernandez. She's an infectious disease specialist, but she's, of course, by professional medical doctor, health advocate, and now author. And she's here to talk to us about the pressing issue of your blood sugar. We're talking about NCDs in general, and we're talking about her new book, which provides a way for us to better prepare ourselves for, let's just say, sugar's harmful effects, and how we can guard ourselves against it. Dr. Goodwin-Fernandez, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Ercil. Thank you for having me here, and good morning to the listening audience. I'm doing well.
Good. I must say that a few years ago I interviewed you. I got into trouble for calling you Amina. People don't understand, we go way back. So yeah, forgive me if
yes, you're forgiven. You're forgiven.
All right, let's introduce Antigua to you again.
Yes.
Tell us who you are.
So I am Amina Goodwin-Fernandez, born and bred in Antigua, and I am a medical doctor. I do two things. So, I'm born and bred here, but I have been in the United States since 2013, but it's always my home. So I take care of the most serious infections in hospitals. Oftentimes those people are in intensive care unit. And, I like to say I kill bad germs. But then as much as we have infections in hospital, I came to realize that a lot of those persons were dealing with diabetes and severely uncontrolled diabetes. And so in order to cure those infections once and for all, a part of it is to get blood sugar down to normal and keep it there. And also to prevent recurring infections, that really helps as well. So out of the hospital or in the streets, in recent years, I have been starving those germs. And to starve those germs, it means that we really have to prevent them from having ready access to excess sugar. And so that involves really helping stabilize blood sugar levels and so on and so forth.
How serious is that though? We use the term sugar very often in Antigua. We know it's diabetes high when you're hypoglycemic. But how prevalent is diabetes, sugar as we call it, as a area of concern in the health?
Yeah, it's a massive problem. I don't have specific figures for Antigua or Caribbean, Latin America, but I know in the United States, and we tend to follow the United States in terms of some of our customs and how we eat. And diabetes, about 10-11% of the population in the United States, they're diabetic. But then about 40% almost, they are pre-diabetic. So we have a situation where about half of the population in a country like the United States has some problem related to blood sugar levels. And then where pre-diabetes is concerned, 80% of them are unaware. So really, for those, assuming that the figures here almost mirror those in the United States, maybe of every 10 people watching this show right now, 8 of them are pre-diabetic. Of every 10 people who are pre-diabetic, 8 of them don't know, right? And then there's maybe a 1 or 2 in 10 chance that they are diabetic. So it's a very pressing problem, and the figures from PAHO and so on, I mean, the communications from them would say that that's a growing problem in the Caribbean region and Latin America. So it's a very big problem.
Before we even get into curbing sugar, let's try to clarify some of the terms that you mentioned, because we hear it said very often, manually get sugar. Meaning you're perhaps pre-diabetic. What does that mean?
So, and then let's just talk about diabetes, generally speaking. So traditionally or classically, it's known as starvation in the midst of plenty. So it's a situation where you have too much sugar in the blood, but the cells or your body has no access to that sugar. So it's just kind of floating around in the blood, but you can't get access to it. So there are 2 types of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, where the pancreas stops producing insulin for whatever, there's like a sudden insult, and usually in children. And so because there's no insulin, there's no way for sugar to get into the cells. The sugar can only get into the cells if insulin takes it there. So that's type 1, but that's in the minority. So the big problem with type 2 is that the insulin does not work. So it's there, but it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because over time, and this is a period of years where there's lots and lots of sugar coming in, and eventually your body's like, oh my goodness, like I can't, like this is too much. Let me prevent all the sugar from coming into the cells so my cells don't get damaged. It's like balloons. See your cells as a balloon. And if more and more air keeps coming in, then the balloon is going to pop, right? So the bottom is going to fall out, as they like to say in Mississippi. So it's like a protection where your body's like, oh my goodness, there's too much sugar. Let's just stop. Let's close it off. And insulin no longer works. And it builds up. And then all the problems on the back end because sugar is high, and then insulin is high, and then everything just goes haywire. Your body cannot function, and you can't get energy properly in an efficient fashion. Yeah.
So in essence, pre-diabetes means you're in danger of not having enough insulin or insulin not working.
It's both. So pre-diabetes is essentially before the sugar gets severely high.
Okay.
So it's on a spectrum. So I don't even like the word pre-diabetes because it gives a false sense of security, like, oh, I'm not diabetic yet. But in pre-diabetes, all the things that are happening with type 2 with actual diabetes, they're there in pre-diabetes, but they're just not to where the sugar is high. So it starts with, okay, you're taking an insulin, sugar is high, and your body produces more insulin to force it into your cells. And it's working, but it's working harder to get the sugar, into your cells. And eventually it works and works and works, and it can't work anymore. So things just start to fault, and then your sugar levels start creeping up because your body's just struggling to control all those increasing amounts of sugar and get them into the cells. So pre-diabetes is diabetes, but it's a milder form or an earlier form before the sugar stays high. I don't know if I explained
Yes,
that.
very well, actually.
Okay.
You're
Yes.
causing me concern, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Because I'm now internalizing this
Yes.
and of course, assessing my own habits where that's concerned. Let's talk about the risks, though. You have diabetes. What does that then mean for you health-wise? Are you predisposed to other things after you get diabetes?
Yeah, so the thing about sugar, having all the sugar in normal state, it should be like at a certain nice steady state level. And if your sugar goes high, it means that it causes irritation of the cells and the blood vessels and everything, especially the blood vessels. And think about it, everywhere in the body, all the organs, everything is supplied by blood vessels. So if you're irritating your blood vessels from having the sugar bonding to it, right? Sugar is like sticking to the blood vessels and sort of, you can think of it as rusting. Some people say it's like rusting because all that sugar there, and it's just kind of slowly rusting it, aging it. And if your blood vessels are damaged, then the organs are not going to get enough oxygen. They're not going to get blood because they're like little blockages and so on. And so you have your kidneys, especially those organs that are supplied by tiny blood vessels, so the kidneys, the back of the eyes, your nerves, your brain, all right? And then the bigger blood vessels, so the heart. So heart disease also is one of the complications of diabetes because then eventually the bigger vessels, including those of the heart, also get affected. So anywhere from head to toe can be affected by diabetes just because everywhere is supplied by blood vessels.
All right, let's get to your book because this has provided me, at least over the last few days, with some very good advice, some knowledge, some painful truths about my own diet.
Yes.
Let's talk about this book. It's called Beaming Health. We've got a picture of it to show on the screen and, of course, the foreword to the book. We'll talk about access to it later. But let's talk about your Beam Blueprint and, of course, how we can help guard ourselves against some of these harmful effects of sugar.
So I came up with the Beam Blueprint. Is basically a 4-step framework to get blood sugar levels down and keep them normal. And quickly, I'll just say the Beam Blueprint comes from understanding what makes sugar go up in the first place. Right? That's everything. A lot of people say, "Oh, I have sugar," but they don't quite understand why. We spoke about insulin and so on, but sugar can be high because maybe you're not burning it off enough, right? So you're taking it in, but it's not being used up quickly enough, number one. Number two, maybe you're just taking loads and loads and loads, all right? And one of the things, I'm here in Antigua the past few weeks, and I see so many ads for sweetened drinks all over. And it's just a part of our life, sugar cane, I guess, back in the day, right? So you're taking in too much. Third thing is that maybe you're not taking in too much, but the little you're taking in is coming in too quickly, because it's like a pure form of sugar, just sweetened drinks, and so it's not coming in with any fiber or anything to sort of get in the way and slow down how quickly it soaks into your system. And then the fourth thing is if your body just makes too much sugar from scratch, and that's an overlooked one. So stress, we all understand stress, and when you have stress, then the stress hormone cortisol, steroid hormone, is produced, and that tells your body to make more sugar to prepare to act, all right, or deal with the stress. So those are the 4 reasons why your sugar will be high. So then, bearing that in mind, you understand, okay, how can we tackle that? How can we bring your sugar levels down? So one is to burn more sugar. So burning more sugar, you would think, okay, exercising, using up the energy, but not just that. Maybe you don't exercise, like we're not going to exercise all the time, but what if the little exercise you do, it's exercise that's going to grow your muscles? And muscles are tissue that uses a lot of energy. So even if you focus on getting some muscle at rest while you're sleeping, you're going to be burning more energy or burning more sugar than somebody who has less muscle mass. That's why men need more food to eat than women, okay? So burn more. Second way to control your blood sugar levels is to eat less. So eat less sugar. Now, that's easy to say, okay, I'm going to just cut out sweet drinks, but a lot of times sugar is hidden. So many of the packaged foods have added sugar. And added sugar, of course, is to increase the taste and palatability and just make it more addictive. And the problem why type 2 diabetes is so much more common now than maybe 40 years ago is that easy access to the packaged and convenience foods. It's basically it's a disease of convenience, we can say. So to eat less sugar is to recognize where sugar is coming from. And because so much of our foods are coming from packaged foods, you have to recognize that, okay, when you look on your labels, look at added sugar. So you will have it standardized, you know, fat, protein, carbohydrates, but on the carbohydrates, it's always listed sugar. And the grams of sugar, according to World Health Organization, should be no more than 24 grams. So if you're looking at your labels and you're keeping a running tally, it should add up to 24 grams. Now, to understand that, you will say, okay, every 4 grams is equal to 1 teaspoon. So that 24 grams is equal to 6 teaspoons. Now, we were talking earlier, and we shared the same, well, I know that was before, and we were talking about that, how, you know, putting lots of sugar in like tea or coffee. So if you think about putting in 6 teaspoons in 1 cup, and that's your maximum daily allowance, so if you do that multiple times during the day, you can get like, for example, back in the day, I would, in a total day, maybe would have up to like half a cup of added sugar, right? So eat less sugar, meaning trying to keep your daily limit to 24 grams or 6 teaspoons. And then 3, absorb or soak in less sugar. So if you have sugar, the sugar, if not like in a simple form. So sweetened drinks, that's simple form. When we add sugar to the tea and juice, that's a simple form. So the sugar we have, if we're having it like in its more natural form, so from our fruits, all right, or fruits, or if we're having sugar, well, sugar is basically it's a type of carbohydrate. For carbohydrate, sugar, starch, and fiber as well. But the sugar in the natural form tends to come with fiber, which will slow down, which gets in the way and will cause the body to have to work harder to get to that sugar. So in the end, you soak in less of the sugar because it's in a more complex form. Your body has to work to get to it, okay? And then the 4th way to bring sugar levels down or keep them down is to make less sugar. So it's to understand what might be stressing your body and causing it to make more sugar basically. Because a lot of times, diabetics, they're doing the right thing, they're eating right, they're exercising, but still like they're not getting to their goals. And then you look at it as either they're under stress, but not necessarily psychological stress. Sometimes there are stressful conditions in your body. So there are chronic infections, sometimes chronic viral infections, chronic fungal infections. Sometimes they're chronic inflammatory conditions or autoimmune conditions. Some people have, maybe lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or a whole variety of inflammatory conditions, and that inflammation is just causing a stress, like a chronic lingering stress in your body, and you're like making sugar, all right? And then other stressful situations like chronically low oxygen levels, like maybe your lungs are not working well, either from smoking or even now more commonly something called obstructive sleep apnea, where because of issues with weight, but not only obese people have sleep apnea, but for variety of issues where the airway closes down when you sleep, it like closes up because of relaxation and the weight, and then you have multiple pauses in your breathing. And when that happens, your oxygen levels drop. And then that's a stressful situation, and you're making cortisol, and then that's causing you to make sugar because your body is seeing psychological or like non-physical stress in the same way. So it's going to produce the cortisol for you to respond. So those are the 4. So that spells the Beam blueprint. Yes. Burn more sugar, eat less sugar, absorb or soak in less sugar, and make less sugar. And that 4-step blueprint to help bring blood sugar levels down to normal and keep them normal. Because, it's multiple angles to attack the same problem. Because it's not every day maybe you're going to eat perfectly. So you have other angles to, use to get to help you with getting your goals.
All right, so if I were to look at those 4 principles and describe this person, which I will in a second, this would be like a prime candidate for diabetes. So in terms of burning, so the person who does not exercise, doesn't burn enough sugar. The person who loads up tea in his or her coffee, the person who takes more simple sugar and not the complex carbohydrates,
Yes.
and the person who works a stressful job.
Yes.
So doctors who work in emergency rooms and journalists and those people who work in stressful conditions.
Absolutely. All of us, yeah. And, you know, sometimes we just kind of go. And because the whole type 2 diabetes thing is on a spectrum, so not everybody's going to have high blood sugar. But because your sugar hasn't got to its high, because some people, we're all different. So your body, many people, their body's able to compensate very well. But behind the scenes, a lot is happening to keep that normalcy, because our body, human body thrives on like balance and everything. It does everything to keep all the levels normal and balanced. Your oxygen levels normal, your sugar levels normal, your electrolytes normal. So a lot goes on behind the scenes that we don't see. All right, and yeah, the stress is a real thing too. Yeah,
it's a real killer. The government has decided to put a tax on sugar-sweetened beverages. I know you've talked about those ads. And that's a good thing, you think, in terms of limiting access to some of these sweetened beverages and to sugar in general, you think?
I don't think, I didn't realize they actually implemented it. I heard them talking about it, but I don't think that's necessarily going to change
mindset.
Yeah, because you have to have people understand where sugar is coming from. Because I think to tell people you can't have this, then there's going to be the human nature, you're going to just push back. Like, no, you can't tell me I can't have that.
Children.
Right?
Yes.
But then if you explain in general to people, hey, what is this doing? And further, where is the sugar coming from? And why should you care about this sugar issue, right? Your health, but maybe not just not just type 2 diabetes, because like I said, everybody won't get diabetes, but behind the scenes, a lot of people, in fact, it's estimated in the United States that 75–80% of people have insulin resistance or like metabolic syndrome. So behind the scenes, some people get diabetes type 2, but there are many others who don't, but they're suffering the effects of that insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome in the background. And so they're not getting diabetes, but they might be getting some of the cancers, they might be getting dementia, they might be struggling with high blood pressure, kidney disease, heart disease. So type 2 diabetes is only one of the manifestations of this whole metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance situation. So I don't think for the taxes, personally, I don't think that's going to do, I really don't think it's going to do much. I think you have to get people to understand what is going on behind the scenes, and then get people to want to make a change on their own. They will choose to make the change. And then also when you understand about, you know, absorbing less, so then you get to learn, oh, what can I do so that I am soaking in less of the sugar? And so an individual might decide, hey, like, I want to have my cake and eat it too. Or I want to, like, still have a treat, right? But I'm not going to have the treat on an empty stomach. I'm going to have it after my meal, and the meal hopefully consists of a good, you know, variety of vegetables or a good amount of vegetables where you have that fiber. And day to day, you know, season to season, you try to incorporate more of the natural foods with the natural fiber. And of course, not to forget protein as well, and natural fats, which are the healthy fats that come from foods, ackee, the avocado, the coconut, all those things together so that you can, you know, have your body working as it should.
Let's get practical, Dr. Fernandez, in terms of, you're talking about absorbing the sugar by pairing, you know, some of the sugars with other foods.
Yeah.
A very popular thing here, I'm sure you remember this, is eating 6 mangoes at a time and then downing 2 glasses of water and thinking, well, that would lessen the sugar.
Yeah. So mango, you know, mango, and mango season is like a sensitive season for diabetics because, you know, we just can't do it out of mangoes. They're just delicious, right? But I think even like 50 years ago, people had mangoes and they didn't have diabetes. So the thing is, if you do good most of the time, so adopt that healthy, better balanced, more natural diet most of the time so that you can afford when mango season comes on, you can do well. So it's seasonal. Like before, we ate with the season. So because, you know, it's not like mangoes are available all year round. So mangoes were in the summer. Outside of that, you're eating fish, you're eating your provisions, your vegetables, whatever. So you're not loading up on all the added sugars from the juices and other processed foods. So mango season came and yeah, maybe you put on a few pounds in mango season, but then after mango season, your body goes back to the natural foods. So it's not like an abundance of excess sugar all year round, year after year. So unfortunately, if you do have type 2 diabetes, type 2 diabetics, they unfortunately have to be careful about mangoes. And generally, if you're gonna have mangoes, then it shouldn't be on an empty stomach, right? But mangoes are one of the sweetest fruits, okay? Mangoes, pineapples too, some of the tropical fruits, right? Shouldn't be on an empty stomach. And if you want to be able to enjoy mangoes every mango season, then you have to do your part to get your blood sugar, get your diabetes under control, and keep it controlled throughout the year, generally speaking. So you can afford a few mangoes when mango season comes around.
I'm going through some highs and lows during this interview. Some things are encouraging me, and other things, I got up at 2 this morning and had 2 mangoes and an empty stomach. I maybe shouldn't have done that. Let's talk about the book, though. Where can we access it? Is it affordable?
Oh, I would say, I mean, compared to how much you spend on medications, I would say affordable, and compared to health and the cost of health, yeah. It's going to be available here for about $50 EC at Cindy's Bookstore. So that's how we have it here. It's available on Amazon as well for those who might be outside of the country, but only for sale. Well, shipping would be in the United States, but I know a lot of people have mailboxes. But in terms of right here in Antigua, it'll be at Cindy's Bookstore, $50 EC.
And it's well worth it. I mean, I've gone through it. I mean, I did see it on Amazon as well, $19.99, so it's about the same price. So if you are in the US, if you are in the diaspora listening, watching, then of course you can get access to this book online. Dr. Fernandez, we have about 90 seconds before we close. What's your final word?
So I would say to everyone that type 2 diabetes, it's a lifestyle disease, a disease of convenience. And I know disease is a sensitive word, but I have to say it like that. And because it's a disease of convenience and a lifestyle disease, it means it's a disease that can be totally controlled. In fact, it can be reversed, all right, if not completely, partially. So I think I want to encourage type 2 diabetics that there is hope for your condition, and you just have to sort of educate yourself about what to do. We touched on a few things here, and there's so much more to it. But just to know that if you learn specifically where added sugar is, and that requires, if you're having a lot of like packaged foods, looking at your labels to see how much added sugar is in these foods, right? And then also too, going out of your way, especially if you're diabetic, to increase the amount of vegetables that you take. So vegetables with fiber, that's going to take you a long way. And specifically, if you can start each meal with a bit of fiber, with vegetables to prime your gut, that will take you a long way. But there's always hope, and diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is absolutely a reversible disease, and your body has a remarkable or miraculous ability to heal itself. It's amazing. It's amazing, yeah.
All right, Dr. Amina Goodwin-Fernandez, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You're
it was
very,
a pleasure.
very welcome.
Yes.
So the Beam Blueprint is the main tenet of this book, Beaming Health, of course, by Dr. Amina Goodwin-Fernandez. She's, of course, infectious disease specialist, medical doctor, health advocate, now author. And, of course, a book available at Cindy's Bookstore. $50 EC, and trust me, if you're having issues with diabetes, or if you know someone who's diabetic, or even if you're just willing to know more about the condition itself, it's a very good read. Let's take a break. When we come back, it'll be time for Andrew's birthday corner. Steve Freeland Jr. has made his triumphant return to Antigua, Barbuda today. We'll hear from him next. We'll see you after the break.